Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your hump day? I am going to tell you about Studio 54 today, but first, as always, we here at the Tom Gully Show hope that you are receiving the full, total, and complete amount of hump that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve. And that can mean whatever you want. PLV, that's Peg Leg Vet. I just shorten it up, you know. Chef is in the house, relaxing at home. It's a good place to relax. Everyone, hello, says Aku, Mr. Lucky, and SG Fanboy, spelling it out there. And Hungus says, hello, Gully Gangsters. Hungus has got that Predator avatar there. Got that Predator avatar, Diane O'Brien. Gully Gangsters assemble. Anyway, boy, I watched Endgame a little bit more last night, and I'll finish it again today. I'm loving that movie. I just love that movie. Oh, hey! Dang Lizard's here. Hold on, let me get you up on the screen. I was about to tape a sip of water. Delicious water. By the way, we have a replayables at the top of the next hour, so we'll be out of here by 8 o'clock Eastern time. Hello, Dang Lizard. Nice to see you. Pleasure to be here. Gully Gangsters ain't all that bad. It is not. There's a lot of good ones. There really are. Hey, by the way, if you could like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all that free stuff, we would appreciate it very, very much. We got to try and grow the audience a little bit. We only had 35 views of yesterday's show. That's a stinkeroo even by this show's very low standards. I guess the William McKinley assassination, not a toe tapper, as we say in musical terms. Hungus Mungus says, I'm that boat builder from the Netherlands, in case you didn't know. Oh, that would be Sven Dunkel. Diana Bryan says, water. All day I face the barren waste without the taste of water. Cool, clear water, water, water. Keep a moving, Dan, don't you listen to him, Dan. He's a devil, not a man, and he spreads the burning sands. Anyway. Agua. And I need that because, as you guys know, I don't eat before the show. But I haven't eaten all day, and so like at the very last second, I made some boudin and macaroni salad, and I was wolfing it down right until the start of the show. Joker Fish is here. Joker. Aku says, work update. I'm attempting to remove a control arm ball joint on the passenger side. I misheard the boss, so we swapped the driver's side as well. Any bets if I'll get more blood blisters? Blood blisters. I don't want to bet. I might wager. Anyway. So today we're going to tell you about Studio 54. Terry Nee sent me a video. If any of you have ever seen the thumbnail for this show before this show, which looks like a record player and it's got my logo on it, Terry Nee sent me a version of that, only I had my face where the logo is in the middle of the turntable. And if you guys remember in the movie Gran Torino when Clint Eastwood said, you ever notice you run into somebody you shouldn't have ought to blanked with? That's me. And he made it, I don't know, it was jib jab or what it was. He made my face say that. And the weird part is I pulled it up because I got a notification. I pulled it up on my phone and I didn't really pay attention to where it was. I figured I could find it. It would be in an email. I don't know, but I can't find it now. But it was awesome. It was really awesome. Gilman says, I always took as being a geek as a compliment. So what about gully geeks? Gully freaks? What's today's topic? Studio 54. It's on the awning behind me. It's on the title of the show, and I've said it 4 times in the last 60 seconds. Sorry, Sven. I know English isn't necessarily your bag, but that's what the topic is. Aku says, I still like the idea of a clock that notifies you of a show starting. Well, you know what? To be honest with you, if I wanted to, Diana Bryant says he's an extremely talented actor, etc. If I wanted to, I could design a clock that had numbers on it around, like, you know, normally you're used to. And then, like, at 5 till, I could make it red or something. But it's not like an alarm would go off or whatever. Hungus says, okay, I'm stupid. You're not stupid. You're not. You're a smart guy. Talented guy. It's just, I mentioned it so many times. Randy Ramos says you can also watch on YouTube. Yes, you can. The Doctorn says, hey, yo, Tom and fellow gully heads, assemble. See, now I'm going to have to watch that again. Hungus, that's my stick. Stick. Das ist meine Stick. Eine kleine Stück Torte. All right, enough of all that German. Hey, Lyndon just arrived. Hello, Lyndon. Nice to see you. You know what I ought to do? I better get out my thing. I think it's about time for me to get out my thing. I just want the thing. I don't want the thing. I want the whole... All right. Better get out my thing. All right. The Studio 54 deal, for those of you who don't know, and I don't know, Diana, if this was known over in England back in the day, but Studio 54 was the New York City hangout in the late 70s and early 80s. It was the place to see and be seen. Okay. Oh, here, let me. That's what you saw on the outside. Now, Studio 54 actually has a very long and storied history. It didn't just start off as, the disco nightclub, right? It was a Broadway. Well, It was originally designed as an opera house, 1,400 seats, when it opened in 1927. And there were, and this is important because this was part of what made the nightclub cool. There were lounges, restrooms, and promenades on 3 different stories. When you went in here, it was wrapped on all 3 sides by, stories. And you could look down on the crowd and see people dancing and check them out and all that. It had 650 seats in the orchestra level, which is the bottom level, in 1933, and 500 in the balcony. And the theater was used as CBS Studio 52 in the mid-20th century. So it was actually a television studio for quite some time. It was a TV studio from like 1942 to 1976. Now, it was originally called CBS Playhouse number 4. CBS had a number of anthology and drama shows that they would broadcast live, which were called CBS Playhouse. And that was the studio for that. And then it was CBS Studio 52 from 1949 to 1976, which was a big deal. It was a sound stage, and then it was a television studio until 1976. A lot of shows came out of there. So it had quite a history. But I know what you're interested in. Oh, I know what you're interested in. Yes, I do. Let me see here. Let me just go through some of the CBS Studio 50. It was a radio soundstage, excuse me, in August of 1942. So old radio shows would take place on like a stage, and there'd be a crowd there for all the laughter and stuff like that. So it was known as Radio Playhouse Number 4 or Theater Number 4. Then it was converted to television, and that's when it became CBS TV Studio 52. Shielded television cameras had to be developed due to the strong magnetic interference at the neighboring power substation for the New York City subway system. And there were 7 various studios that were operating, for CBS in New York City at the time. And many of them were converted Broadway theaters. Now, the very first television show to be produced at Studio 52, wasn't 54, it was 52, was the 54th Street Review in 1949. Another early show was the Fred Waring Show, which means nothing to anybody here, but it actually was a pretty popular show in early television. It was on for 5 years. It was hosted by Fred Waring and his choral group, the Pennsylvanians, and that was early TV, especially early network television. Studio 52 and the neighboring Studio 50, which is now called the Ed Sullivan Theater, where David Letterman hosted his show on CBS, and now Stephen Colbert does his. These were the busiest, by far, studios for CBS during the early 60s. This theater hosted What's My Line, The $64,000 Question, Password, To Tell the Truth, Beat the Clock, The Jack Benny Show, I've Got a Secret, Ted Mack and the Original Amateur Hour, and Captain Kangaroo. Yes, and it was used to tape many other shows that involved panel discussions. Members of the public could also buy tickets to view these tapings. This was in the days when the members of the public were allowed to buy tickets. Now it's against federal law for those tickets to be charged for just a television broadcast. Obviously, it's a basketball game or something. You could charge for tickets. But the soap opera Love of Life, which I don't know, maybe some of you remember it, but Love of Life was there until 75, and it was the last show to be taped there. And at that point, CBS moved most of its broadcast operations out of Studio 52, and they put the theater up for sale. They just said, hey, we're going to sell the theater. We've had it. We're selling it. By the way, this is a restaurant called Below 54, which was a very, very upscale, chic place to get into. Why don't I just go ahead and put a little disco. This was called The Man in the Moon. And it would swing over the dance floor at Studio 54 when those rockin' disco tunes were going on. So, let's get to what most people know Studio 54 for. And that is the nightclub. So, in 1976, a German-born male model named Uwe Harden. Mein Name ist Uwe Harden. Grüß dich, servus. He was planning to open a nightclub in New York City, which he tentatively just called Studio. And he and an Israeli entrepreneur named Yoram Polani agreed to take over the old CBS Studio 52 when it was, finally out of circulation, so to speak. Well, Polani and another friend of Uwe Harden independently recommended that the nightclub be called Studio 54 because it was on 54th Street, so there wouldn't be any confusion. So Harden and Polani formed a corporation to operate the nightclub, but they they couldn't get a liquor license. They were having a tough time getting a liquor license. So they hired another guy as the club's publicist, a guy named Carmen D'Alessio. And to finance the nightclub, the operators of the Marlborough Gallery bought nearly all the stock in the corporation that Uwe Harden and Yoram Polani had formed. At the time, the gallery's owner had just been ordered to pay $9 million to the artist Marth Rothko, and was looking for some ways to shelter his income. So after a number of delays, Uwe Harden met with entrepreneurs Steve Rubel, very important name, and Ian Schrager, who agreed to partner with him in the nightclub's operation. Now, Uwe Harden was eventually forced out of the club's operation, and that's because Steve Rubel and Ian Schrager were so over the top. They basically just took over everything once they became partners. Yoram Polani left on his own. He said, "This looks like a mess to me. I'm out of here." In November of '76, Billboard magazine reported that Schrager and Rubel planned to convert the theater into a nightclub called Studio 54, and it would be one of several discotheques to operate in Midtown Manhattan during the late '70s. Rubel and Schrager formed a company which spent $400,000 of 1979 money or whatever to transform the theater into a nightclub. And so Rubel, Schrager, and another guy each owned a third stake in the club. And they hired several people to actually create the club, to decorate it, to come up with the theme and all that other stuff by early 1977. The architect, interior designer, lighting designer, set designer, artsy-fartsy people. So the renovation included the construction of a dance floor, a balcony, a disco booth, as well as mirrors, lights, these floating vinyl platforms, which would be raised and lowered. The orchestra seated 250 people, and the balcony had another 500 seats. The lighting system took 3 people to operate, and they had a dozen 16-foot-high poles with flashing lights. They also had special effects like confetti, snow, fog, and other stuff. The ceiling was a cyclorama. Okay, so it was a 30 by 40 cyclorama, and it would allow them to project things on to the ceiling. So they would put different galaxies up there, depictions of volcanoes, sunrises, sunsets. It was giant. It was very imposing. There was a backlit moon and spoon, which became an icon for reasons we'll go into later. The club's promoters mailed out 8,000 invitations and made phone calls to numerous figures on a good social list. And Studio 54 officially opened April 26, 1977, with workers rushing to finish the decorations just minutes before the grand opening. 4,000 people showed up, even though only 2,500 could actually fit in the place. So it was pretty much a human car wash right from the beginning. Hundreds of prospective patrons lined up around the block, and many celebrities could not get in, despite having been invited. And that kind of gets us into the whole thing. This, by the way, is Steve Rubel, who died very early, probably from using too much drugs, using a lot of drugs. You know what I'm saying? Studio 54 had been launched as a disco dancing trend was gaining popularity, and that made it grow in popularity rapidly itself, especially after the publication of a very widely circulated picture that showed Bianca Jagger, Mick Jagger's wife, at the club, riding a white horse in the club. A month after the opening, the club served an average of 2,000 guests a night, although it was only open Tuesdays through Saturdays. And by 1977, the club became so successful that Rubel and Schrager were considering opening other satellites in LA and London. They chose not to open similar clubs around the world because he wanted to protect the brand so badly. And Rubel said that only the Mafia made more money than Studio 54. And Studio 54 indeed made $7 million in its first year, which in 1977 for a disco was a lot of money. At the first anniversary, they had said that when it opened, it wouldn't last more than a couple months. They, after that anniversary, closed the club for 9 days, spent $500,000 on renovations, added more spotlights and mirror walls, as well as a movable bridge. Now, here's a big deal about Studio 54. And by the way, I'm going to go through a list of people that were regulars at Studio 54. And I'm also going to, that's kind of the inside of it, not necessarily during the disco days, but now. It's a theater now again. The admission policy. This was a trendy place. And Studio 54, if any of you have ever gone to a popular nightclub in the town of your choice and had people come by and sort of look you over, yeah, you can go in, you know, normally they, send the hot babes in, and schmoes like us, we don't get to go in. Studio 54 started that. So to be admitted was a status symbol, even when it was open to the public. When it opened, admission was $7 or $8, but you could buy an annual membership. The tickets were more expensive on weekends, and when there were performances there, because music acts did perform there, they were way more expensive. Now, Steve Rubel made final decisions on whether guests were allowed in the club. Celebrities were usually allowed to enter immediately. But if he liked the look of your face, you got in. If he didn't like the look of your face, you didn't get in. And then very beautiful members of the public were almost always admitted. While men by themselves, probably not going to be admitted. Guests were divided into 4 categories, ranging from the no goods, who could never be admitted, to the no F-ups, and that's important clients who were admitted instantly. Rubel bragged about the club exclusivity, saying that I turned away 1,400 people last Saturday. The club's doormen could be extremely selective, sometimes to the point that they propelled themselves into a comedy universe. Rubel once told a ravishingly beautiful woman that she could enter for free if she took off all of her clothes, and she did. And then she had to be hospitalized for frostbitten nipples, and I'm not joking. It's not a joke. The selective admission policies led some guests to bypass the front door in an attempt to enter. One potential guest got stuck in a ventilation shaft and died. Some of Studio 54's spurned clientele fled to other clubs, such as New York, New York. When the club was renovated in 1978, Rubel sealed the courtyard to prevent people from entering there. There was also a private entrance on 53rd Street that only very elite clientele, and you will hear they had very elite clientele, they would be allowed in. So on several occasions, would-be guests attacked the doorman after being denied admission, with several guests pulling out guns when they were rejected. The club security guards often cleared out trash cans within a several block radius because of high concerns over violence. Some notables were denied admission. The president of Cyprus was once rejected because he thought the guy was the president of New York City's Cypress Hills Cemetery. When one of Saudi King Khalid's son was rejected, the Saudi embassy wrote to the United States and wrote Rubel a letter asking that his son not be rejected again. The band Chic, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chic. It's currently called Nile Rodgers and Chic, but they wrote a song called Les Freaks, C'est Chic, and that's the song they wrote after not being admitted to the club. They were refused entry on New Year's Eve, despite having been invited by one of the most iconic people that was at Studio 54, Grace Jones. So she invited them, and then they got turned away. Even club members, you had a membership, you weren't guaranteed entry. The New York City Department of Consumer Affairs mandated that Rubel and Schrager stop selling memberships and refund the existing members because of the fact they would turn away members. And the club failed to refund all the memberships immediately, and they got in more trouble. So once you were inside the club, because this club did not open until 10 p.m., and things would peak around midnight, the bar closed at 4 a.m., and the rest of the club stayed open till 6 a.m. According to Steve Rubel, the vast majority of the club's guests were not celebrities, but members of the public that just wanted to dance. And the New York Post wrote that it was a mix of punks, hairdressers, socialites, and suburbanites. And Andy Warhol was a regular guest of Studio 54. He said the club was a dictatorship on the door, but a democracy on the dance floor. In other words, it was hard to get in. But once you were in, everybody was equal. They enforced a photography ban to protect the guests' privacy. That's why you don't see a lot of photos right now, although I am going to show you some photos on a website here shortly. Some images were still published, including a widely circulated image of Canadian First Lady Margaret Trudeau without any underwear. Many of the guests used club drugs. You know what? Club drugs, party drugs, rave drugs, mostly pills, Quaaludes, pharmaceuticals, things like that. And they often engaged in open sexual activity on the club's balcony and in private basement rooms. The Wall Street Journal characterized most of the female guests as beneficiaries of a fabulously lucky genetic selection. In other words, they were just physically beautiful, and that the men guests generally had an aura of self-esteem born in the knowledge that one can successfully choose among the select, whatever that means. Celebrity appearances, which were almost guaranteed, were frequently showcased in the New York daily papers and gossip columns. The nightclub was also frequented by many gay celebrities, leading one writer to write, the club became one of the single most effective showcases for the gay community, which was just starting to gain a little prominence at that time. And by 1978, there was a private dance floor behind a movable scrim, a movable sort of wall on the main dance floor, as well as a VIP room in the basement, which could only be accessed by a hidden stairway. The club also hosted private parties that would cost a minimum of like $50,000 to have a private party there. The invitations of the parties were extravagant. Cupid's arrows, inflatable hearts, jars of confetti. Among the events at Studio 54 was a New Year's Eve party who dumped 4 tons of glitter on the floor, creating a 4-inch layer that could be found in attendees' clothing and homes several months later. The organizers of a Valentine's Day party in 1979 imported 3,000 Dutch tulips, transported 4,000 square yards of sod from Bermuda, and rented 8 antique sculptures that cost $17,000 apiece. Other events at the club included fundraisers for local politicians, as well as a Halloween party hosted by the staff of People magazine. By the way, Studio 54 was also a filming location for several music videos that you may have seen. So here is a list of just some of the notable people who were patrons often enough to somewhat be identified with Studio 54. Woody Allen, Mikhail Baryshnikov, John Belushi, Leonard Bernstein, Jacqueline Bisset, David Bowie, Truman Capote, Cher, Salvador Dali, yes, the John Waters actor, actress, Divine, Faye Dunaway, Farrah Fawcett, woo, Ric Flair, Betty Ford, Betty Ford, Richard Gere, soon to be Mick Jagger's Squeeze, Jerry Hall, Debbie Harry of Blondie, Margot Hemingway, Tommy Hilfiger, Lauren Hutton, Michael Jackson. I mentioned Mick and Bianca Jagger, Rick James, Caitlyn Jenner, Elton John, Grace Jones, Tom Jones, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. These are heavyweights, man. Calvin Klein, Timothy Leary, John Lennon, Bette Midler, Liza Minnelli, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Dolly Parton, Richard Pryor, Gilda Radner, Lou Reed, Diana Ross, Brooke Shields, Frank Sinatra, Sylvester Stallone, Paul Stanley of Kiss, Elizabeth Taylor, John Travolta, Donald and Ivana Trump, Tina Turner, Andy Warhol, Robin Williams. Now, Alec Baldwin worked for 2 months as a waiter in Studio 54. So there was a downfall. Schrager did not have a liquor license when the club opened. And he'd applied and applied and applied. Instead, the club applied for a caterer's permit every single day. And those permits were meant for weddings or political events, but they technically allowed the venue to serve alcohol. The club did not have a certificate of occupancy or a public assembly license. And so people started complaining to the feds. Some of the people that had been barred, didn't get allowed in when they complained to the feds. On May the 21st of 77, the New York State Liquor Association raided the nightclub for selling liquor without a license. Club reopened the next night, serving fruit juice and soda instead of liquor. Studio 54 continued serving non-alcoholic drinks exclusively until a justice for the New York Supreme Court ordered the New York State Liquor Association to grant Studio 54 a liquor license. And they complied, but they objected. And they claimed that the judge had been influenced by Studio 54's upscale clientele. Well, maybe, They also applied for a cabaret license, and they didn't grant them one for more than a year. And that was likely because there were only 3 cabaret inspectors who couldn't get all of the cabarets inspected in a timely manner. So, that was part of the first problem. The American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, ASCAP to you and me, sued the club, alleging that the co-owners had failed to pay licensing fees for the performances that had been staged at Studio 54, and they eventually paid them for a license. The National Labor Relations Board was also investigating the club after some workers alleged the club had engaged in unfair labor practices. So in December of 78, a tipster called the IRS, alleging that Rubel and Schrager was skimming profits. And the tip was from a disgruntled ex-employee who also alleged that cocaine was being illegally stored in the basement. Shortly after, IRS agents raided Studio 54 and arrested Rubel and Schrager. The club continued to operate the night of the raid. A federal grand jury indicted Rubel and Schrager on charges of tax evasion, and they skimmed $2.5 million, which is about 60% of the receipts over the past 2 years. They tried to lessen the charges. They alleged that Hamilton Jordan, chief of staff to U.S. President Jimmy Carter, had used cocaine in the club's basement, and they basically kept spending money on the club while all this was going on, investing more and more money, $1.2 million, to renovate it even more. They eventually pleaded guilty to tax evasion in November of 79, and That was after New York Magazine published a cover story describing the party favors the two men gave to their friends, which included women and drugs. In exchange, federal prosecutors agreed not to charge the men with obstruction of justice and conspiracy. But by then, the club was in danger of losing its liquor license, and that's because the State Liquor License Association did not give liquor licenses to convicted felons. So they were both sentenced, Rubel and Schrager, to 3.5 years in prison in January of 1980. They attended a final party on the night of February 2nd and 3rd with Diana Ross and Liza Minnelli singing for the guests. They began serving their sentences 2 days afterwards, and they were ultimately paroled after a year. Schrager received a presidential pardon decades later. The State Liquor Association licensed people unanimously voted not to renew Studio 54's liquor license, citing the criminal convictions, although the club was continuing to keep operating. Club lost its liquor license in February of that year, and the club started serving fruit punch the next day. They were announcing at the same time that they were going to create a board of directors to operate the club. And, you know, by the end of that month, Rubel wanted to sell the club, despite having promised 2 months prior he'd never sell it. And a lot of popular people Dick Clark wanted to buy it, for crying out loud. So some other people bought it, and it just kind of went through the same ups and downs of celebrities and drugs and problems, and it got really, really, really big. They filed for bankruptcy in November 1985. They kept just pouring money into it in renovations and stuff. And it closed in April of 86 because they couldn't get liability insurance because they were losing all these lawsuits they were involved in. And subsequently, somebody else took it over. And since then, it has been pretty much a theater ever since. Now, I'm going to show you some of the people, let me see here, that would go there. Let me see, 40, there we go, here we go. All right, let me see if I can make this happen for you fine people. Let me see if I can make this happen, because man, oh man, let me tell you something. This was a place to be. This was a place to be, I'm telling you. And you'll see this. I wish I could have gone there, to be honest with you. I really do. Hold on. Let's see if I can make this happen. Let's get back over here for a second. Boom. Hey, homie, don't play that. Made a nice donation. Somebody else did too. Jenny G gifted some memberships. Please turn on those gifted memberships if you would. You might just get lucky. Get a membership. By the way, we got replayables in 23 minutes and 30 seconds. So we'll definitely be out of here by then. And you can check those people out. You can, oh man, I'm so behind on chat. I'll catch up though. Don't worry. But turn on your gifted memberships. It tells how at the bottom of the screen. Let me make myself tiny like Vince the lawyer. And then let me share the screen. What the? And I'll show you some people at Studio 54. Yeah, I'll show you 40 different pictures that'll give you the lowdown on that. Well, we got to have that up there. I wish I could make this bigger, but I can't. All right, that's the outside of it. Here we go. Why is it still saying that? Okay, Liza Minnelli, she was there all the time. And these are actual pictures, by the way, from Studio 54. Andy Warhol with his stuffed bear that he always had with him. He said that people weren't particularly interested in seeing him. They were interested in seeing each other. They stayed to see who came. Phrasing. Olivia Newton-John was at a Grease premiere party at Studio 54, and I'll tell you why she probably was here in a second. Cher and Liza Minnelli boogieing, getting down, dancing. Earlier that day, Cher had choked on a vitamin pill and was dragged to the hospital, but she made it out. There's Shirley MacLaine and Bella Abzug, who I believe was the mayor of New York at the time. And this was a picture for her 57th birthday party. There's Rocky. There's Rocky with his wife at the time, Sasha. There is Tina Turner with a famous photographer, Francesco Scavulo. Here's Olivia Newton-John and Alan Carr. Alan Carr, I believe, had a hand in producing Grease. I don't quote me on that, but I think he did. There's Brooke Shields and Calvin Klein, and the guy on the right, Steve Rubell, pre-going to jail. This picture has Andy Warhol, Jerry Hall, who later became Mick Jagger's, I don't know if they ever got married or not, but they lived together forever, Debbie Harry, Truman Capote, and Paloma Picasso. So there's some celebrity there. There's Joe Willie Namath. There's Grace Jones, who is always super glam fabulous. There's Rod Stewart and Steve Rubell. There is Ara Gallant and Diane von Furstenberg, who's a famous designer. There's Cher walking down the steps at the Opium Perfume launch party. There is Patti Smith and Clive Davis, who's a famous record producer. There's Mick Jagger, not having that much fun. It's his sister's birthday party. This is that famous Bianca Jagger riding a white horse into the nightclub for her birthday party. There's Stevie Wonder and Stephen Stills. Liza Minnelli and Andy Warhol. Look at all the people making out in the background, man. It's crazy. Olivia Newton-John talking to some guest there. Doris Duke is a very famous socialite of the time. And there's the outside of the club again. Shirley Bassey and Sterling St. Jacques. I can tell you, if you don't know who Shirley Bassey is, this is the easiest way to know. Goldfinger. She's the singer of Goldfinger and many other James Bond songs. Carolina Herrera, just sort of an elegant lady. Barbara Streisand and her Squeeze the Time. Diana Ross, she's in the DJ booth giving an impromptu performance. Oscar de la Renta, which is he's just a fashion designer. Beverly Johnson, famous model at the time, kissing Steve Rubell. Rob Stewart and Alana Hamilton, that was his new wife. I believe she used to be married to George Hamilton. Mick Jagger and Jerry Hall after Mick divorced Bianca. And Patti LaBelle, oh boy. Nona Hendrix, some chick, and Elton John. She was a costume designer. Bianca Jagger, she's got doves. Man, she was into animals. Michael Caine. I don't think many people know that. Elizabeth Taylor is there with her birthday cake. Isn't that great? Curtis Mayfield, Superfly. Gonna make your fortune by and by. There's Curtis Mayfield. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm pretty sure he's a politician now. Farrah Fawcett. Look at her. That's her dad dancing with her for some reason. And last but not least, come on. Just a bunch of models. So there's the scene at Studio 54. It was kind of crazy, man. It's kind of crazy. Let me see here if I can find out where we are in our chats. I'll go ahead and open up the phone lines. What the heck? I'm a single successful guy. I'll get a sip of water. You guys, if I was at the door, you'd all get into Studio 54, man. Every damn last one of you. Let's just go up here and see what nice people we have. Homie Don't Play That says, Tom is our exclusive club, 100% way better than Studio 54. He's Studio 100. Well, thank you, homie. Thank you. Jenny G is such a great gal, and she has gifted 5 Tom Gully Show memberships. So please, do what it says at the bottom. Go to youtube.com/@TomGullyShow/allow_gifts. If you didn't happen to have a pen in your hand, it'll appear on the crawl, and somebody'll hook you up, man. Somebody gonna hook you up. Gilman said, I would love to gift a membership, but I'm on a phone and can't love the Gully world and love you, Tom. Keep doing a great show. Gully geeks love you. Well, thank you, Gilman. You're, as usual, too kind. You're simply too kind. All right, let me pick up on these chats where I was streaming down. Maybe I should smoke less weed. Oh, gosh. Lyndon says, can't wait to hear this story. I was anti-disco at the time. Look, buddy, I'm with you. I was anti-disco too, although now I kind of like to listen to a disco song once in a while for cheese factor. But I was not anti-dancing with hot babes. No, I never let it be said that I was anti that. Hungus Mungus says, I only know Studio 54 from that Rick James story. Well, there's actually a movie called Studio 54, or it's just called 54, and Mike Myers stars as Steve Rubell in that movie. It's an okay movie. Positive Patriot says, hey, Tom, sorry I'm late. I would say watch it. What the heck? It's a timepiece. The Doc Torn says, history? Why, yes, Tom. I'm very interested in that. Who isn't? Those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. Cheers, everyone, says Jenny G. Cheers to you, Jenny G. Over Harden? Uva Harden. His name was Uva Harden. Hungus Mungus is waving. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room in the whole internet, as confirmed by various sources. Hungus Mungus says, Uve. It's not Uve, it's Uva. It's U-V-A. Although I do know a guy named Uwe Blop who played basketball here in the United States. Stupid name. How much did it cost a person to get in? Well, $7 to $8 during the week, but special performances were way more when they would have musical performances and stuff like that. Chris Abels of the Replayables on the Levyverse Network, which will in 14 minutes begin entertaining you, and that's why we'll be done in 14 minutes, is in a house. He is in a house. Oh, I've got an incoming call here. Let's see if I can answer. Sometimes the first call screws up, so you always have to...
For cheese factor, but...
Caller, you're going to need to turn down your phone, caller. You're going to have to turn down your radio, caller.
All right, I turned it off.
All right, who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Jason Bardo X. What's up, man?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm getting through there, getting all my ducks in a row, my disco ducks in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, Rick D's Disco Duck. So,
yeah, man.
Now, what did you say? You got a screen name that I might be familiar with?
JBX, Jason Bardo X.
Okay.
I don't know. So, I've been in your chat. And,
okay.
I've been on a number of shows.
What made you call today?
Well, I like your show, dude. I dig your stuff, and I come in and I comment, and I wanted to call and talk to you.
Cool. Well, what do you want to talk about, brother?
I want to talk about how the world's ending. No, So you got to come on my show, brother.
Okay.
Will you?
Send me. What time does it happen and all that stuff?
Well, that's up to people's schedule, but usually I try to do 7 or 5 p.m. between then.
Okay, 5 p.m. Eastern?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Well, we can make...
Twitter, right? You got a Twitter, right?
I do.
Do you follow me? Maybe you do. I don't know.
I don't know either. Send me a DM and we'll hook up.
So what are you talking about today? You're talking about all these stars. What's the?
I'm talking about Studio 50.
Where are you going with it?
Studio 54, brother.
Oh man, I remember researching about the guys and how they went to prison, and
Yeah.
do you remember the VH1 Studio 54 little doc?
I don't, but I remember the movie starring Mike Myers about Studio 54.
Really?
Yeah,
I
it was.
haven't
It
seen
was
that.
a.
What is it called? Is it called Studio 54?
I think it's just called 54, maybe, but it was a dramatic role for Mike Myers. It was a big switch for him, and he actually played one of the guys you're talking about, Steve Rubell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve,
So,
what a fucking crazy guy.
Whoa.
Excuse me for mass words. I'm sorry.
whoa, hey, whoa, look out. Everybody. Earmuffs, kids, earmuffs. Yeah.
Earmuffs.
So send me a DM and we'll dot I's and cross T's, and I'd be happy to come on your show.
All right. See
All
you,
right.
Tom.
All right, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Thank you for calling.
man.
All right. Bye. I'd talk to him a lot longer, except for I got to get through this chat. But I was able to leave Chris Abels' name up on the screen for a long time, and that's never a bad idea. Hungus saying hi. People saying hi to Chris Abels. He's way more popular on this program than I am. They made millions. But they spent millions. And they lived just a decadent lifestyle. If they didn't let you in, you'd be dancing in the streets like David Bowie and Mick Jagger. The doctorate says, Chris is here. Now it's a party. Somebody might hurl. People saying hi. The most cheerful chat room in the whole internet is verified by independent sources. I can't talk today, by the way. Oh my God, that sounds painful. Frostbitten Nipples is a hell of a name for a Canadian rock band. Says SG Fanboy. That's very highly appreciated in the chat room, clearly. Wow, Club Trainwreck. Well, yeah, but man, I tell you what, I'd like to hung out there in my heyday for a night or two. They probably wouldn't have let me in, the Wolf says, but the Wolf said, by the way, I'm not Thor, I'm the Gringo Giant, and there's a whole story behind the Warmer. We got to get the Wolf back on this show. We got to do a whole show with just the Wolf, because the Warmer has a whole story behind it. Jenny G says, man, I have not heard that song in forever. What? Les Freak, Say Chic? Ronald Bateman says the original title for the song Freak Out was initially F Off. I heard Nile Rodgers talk about it on one of those old VH1 Behind the Musics. I can imagine. That's awesome, Ronald. I watched too many of those as a kid. Ronald Bateman knows a lot about music. He really does. The Wolf says, I don't need no pills. I need a shot. No underwear. Oh, my, the rebel. Yes. I'll remind you of Homie Don't Play That's generous $10 donation. I'm reminding you of it. Ronald Bateman says, I feel like we've come full circle. Demolition Disco, now Studio 54. It is kind of cultural circle there. Jenny G is gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Jenny. I'm reminding people of that. What else we got? Oh, man, Brian Clowder has given some love to the Little Old Tom Gully show. Brian Clowder has been called bad names by Stuttering John. Therefore, he's my hero. Where we are. Who's gonna clean up that glitter? I wouldn't clean it up. I'd roll around in it. Homie and Jenny. Homie Don't Play That. Hey, Chris. Dolly. Yes, Salvador Dali used to go there. People saying hi. Chris Abels says what I wanted to say earlier. Rick James, bitch. James G says, so many names from the past. Yes. See you soon, Chris. Yes. Replayables in 7.5 minutes. I appreciate you. The Wolf says that must be why she started the Ford Clinic. Yeah, it is. It was during her partying days. All the amazing names, and now there's nothing like it. I bet you there's places like it, but they're not concentrated like that one. That one was exclusive, and it was the only thing like it. Now, if you go to LA and New York, there's tons of exclusive clubs, but not one big better than all the rest one. Jenny G says you might be onto something, Wolf. Let's see. Can someone please donate a membership for the lovely and talented Randy Ramos? I think some people have donated some, Randy, so just keep that gifted membership turned on, and eventually one will come your way. Randy, turn on gifted memberships. He may have them turned on. It tells how, Randy, right now on the screen. Well, no, not on the screen right there. I'd say that just in a couple of seconds, it'll tell you exactly how to turn on your gifted memberships. And if you do that thing, plus turn on gifted memberships at youtube.com/@TomGullyShow/ @allow_gifts. If you do that, you'll eventually get one, brother. All the big names hang out here now. Oh, yeah. This is the podcaster's podcast here. This is the streamer's stream. I don't want a big audience. I just want the best audience. And this is extremely intelligent people, classy. The Wolf says, when you say liquor, is that what they serve? No wonder they lost their license. Liquor with 2 Ks. Dang feds. They ruin every party. You mean Vernon Jordan? No, it was the other guy. King of Dem parties. Homie, don't play that. Says, I could never wrap my head around Liza Minnelli being Julie Garland's daughter. What about Lorna Luft? She's also Judy Garland's daughter. Doctor says they served a fruit punch the next day. Wolf says, homie, they both loved pills and booze. They did. I was at Green Acres because they told me that was the place to be. Farm living, the life for you. Land stretching out so far and wide. Keep Manhattan, just give me that countryside. New York is where I'd rather say. I get allergic smelling hay. I just adore a penthouse view. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue. Let's see here. The Wolf says, did you say hello to Oliver? Yeah. Jason Bardo X says, it says your number is busy. Well, until I turn it on, it will do that. I don't turn it on until I'm done with the Spilkus and the Connecticazoid, and then I turn it on after all that. But I announce it always. I think we're on Twitter. I don't know. I got to check. All right, man. Jason, good evening. Let's see here. Jenny G said, I was such a fan of Olivia Newton-John. Wasn't she awesome? And what's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, Jason? What up? Ronald Bateman says, why didn't Liza Minnelli ever take her empty vodka bottles to the recycling bin? Well, she's passed out face down on the ground. It's not a priority. Oh, God, that made my night. Ronald, Bondheads, no. Yes, Bondheads, no. Let's see here. Hamhead, I only know that song is Bent Finger. Yes. Are you a Bond head, Tom? James Bond? James Bond? I don't know. I like me some James Bond. What the high holy's going on here? I don't know why Major League Soccer keeps trying to... It's got a voicemail from somebody. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'll have to read it in a minute. My Bond head. Gilman, reminding people of Gilman's kind donation. Never heard of these boomer people. Terry Nee, I got to find out where you sent me that video, because I looked at it and then closed it, and I can't remember where it came from. Terry Nee sent me that funny video that was funny. People saying, hi. Shirley Bassey from Tiger Bay, one of the most favorite singers. No one like her. Isn't she Welsh? Maybe? Diane O'Brien? No Trump? Oh, yeah, Trump and Ivana were there. Oh, yes, sirree, Bob. Andy Warhol, I'm going to be doing a show on him pretty soon, says Jason Bardo X. Jenny G says, hubby is home, so I have to run. Great show as always. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you, Jenny G. Thank you. Hope you were here when I got a chance to thank you for your kind donation. Homie No Play that says, hey, Hamhead and Terry Nee. People saying hi to each other. Most cheerful chat room on the internet is verified by independent sources. Reverend Wild Bill says, old boss of mine got me into Studio 54 with him one night. He was the pass for me to get in. Yeah, you could do it that way too. I'm good at the lower lip bite. The lower lip bite, white man shuffle. The white man's overbite, some people call it. Terry Nee, homie. People saying hi. People saying bye. People saying hi. Terry Nee for president in 2024. I think he should run in 2024, but I don't think that's his year. I think 2028 is when he locks up the nomination. Doop-a-doop-a-doo, we know her as Karen Garvey, says to Ronald Bateman, at the end of my father's funeral, when we carried the casket out, we played the original James Bond theme song. Everyone who attended had a smile on his face. That's awesome. Rev, you been to Studio Trainwreck? Reverend Wild Bill says Disco Duck. Disco music had some good bass lines. You are correct there, Hamhead. It did. Terry Nee said, I rocked the polyester shirt for the sake of meeting girls. Terry Nee, you and me are kindred spirits, my man. We were kindred. I have gyrated to some really bad music in the, pursuit of love, exciting and new. Reverend Wild Bill says, yes, Wolf, I had to make sure my boss didn't go off the scope, meaning getting too drunk. There's no way I'm going to be able to make all these chats in the next 45 seconds. Would love to learn about CBGBs. We can do a CBGB show. What a send-off. This is beautiful. The James Bond thing. Yeah. People laughing at Terry. People saying hi to the Wolf. Do a drinking show called Regos. I got to get out of here because it's, the replayables. So what I'm going to do is to get as many of these chats up during the outro song and just close all. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, blah, 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 blah. You're the best. I couldn't do it without you. I wouldn't do it without you. And until next time, we'll see you next time.